Hello and welcome. Good morning for those of you joining live here in the Bay Area. I'm Rusty Gaillard and happy to have you joining us here for this live conversation about making better decisions. So I've got Jennifer Borchardt with me, and Jennifer built her career in across a number of different industries and financial services, working at the intersection of technology, business, and human experience. Super interesting background. And then she retired and moved to Charlotte, but she's self-proclaimed failing retirement. So she's got her own consulting firm, doing some work with nonprofits, and then she's also the leading the digital transformation process at Marivi. So I'm going to have Jennifer come join us, and we are going to talk about decision making and how she got to where she is, some of the decisions that have shaped her life. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hello, Bay Area, and hello, Rusty.
And hello, everyone who's tuning in from all over the place.
Hello, everyone, but especially Bay Area. I lived there for 25 years, and now I'm in Charlotte for the last 3 years.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're here to talk about decision making, and obviously it's a decision to move to the Bay Area, to move from the Bay Area to Charlotte. So I'd love to hear about those or other decisions that you feel have shaped your life, have made a big difference in your life.
Well, there have been a lot of decisions that have shaped my life. The Bay Area move was certainly one of the more recent ones. People are probably wondering, why would somebody leave a place like San Francisco in Marin County, where I lived for a few years, an absolutely beautiful place, to come to Charlotte? Like, who does that? And why would somebody do that? Well, the short story is that I had wonderful experience living in San Francisco, in Marin, until it wasn't so wonderful anymore. And it took me a little while to realize that I had the power to change pretty much whatever I wanted. I was very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, but it took a long time for me to realize that change was possible. Being the data nerd that I am, and someone who likes to think of myself as very rational and data driven. Has been very important. It's very important in my career. I decided I was going to make a data model, and I used Excel and created a data model with all these different parameters to decide, where am I going to go when I'm no longer in San Francisco? And some of the things that I included in there, proximity to an international airport, because I love to travel. If I was going to keep working, where are some good work opportunities? Charlotte is a huge financial center. I had worked in Charlotte when I was at Wells Fargo. That was a great experience. Charlotte has a lot of financial services and a lot of other things. Cost of living, as someone who was a real estate investor in San Francisco, I always kept a very close eye on real estate markets. And I looked at one of the data points I looked at was the delta between median income and median house price, which, super nerdy thing, but also I do believe a lot of things derive from housing security or lack thereof. And then finally, one of the really cool data points that I discovered that actually told me quite a lot, if there's any marketing geeks out there, number of Topgolf facilities. The presence of a Topgolf facility indicates a lot of underlying things. People who are educated, people who are active, people who are of a certain age, although admittedly younger than me, and have a lot of disposable income. And as it turned out, at that point, Charlotte was the only place outside of Dallas that had 2 Topgolfs. And I said, this is something worth looking at. I also had some family here. Also, absence of snow. I cannot do snow anymore.
Jennifer, can I jump in, because you've put out so many interesting things that I want to poke at a little bit.
Okay.
And one of the things you said early on in what you were saying is you were in the Bay Area and you realized that it like something wasn't, you weren't fully satisfied.
Nothing was working. Nothing
Okay,
was
it wasn't
working.
working. But
No.
as you said, it took you a while to realize that. And I think all of us have this, what I don't know if we call it a blind spot, or we tolerate something, or we're just used to it. And so we don't even recognize that it could be different. And I'm
Yes.
wondering what brought that into focus for you, that all of a sudden you went from this place of just acceptance of this is just how life is to, oh, I can do something about this.
It takes a lot of people quite a bit of time to realize their own power and the extent of their own agency, because you just get so used to the day to day. You get caught up in your own shoulds and other people's shoulds. I was living in San Francisco for so long because it to me it was the apex of my existence, and there was no place better than that. After having lived around the world, San Francisco was the place for me to be, so I settled there. And it also meant making that decision, also meant acknowledging that things weren't working, that things were not as happy and as rosy as maybe they had once been, as I wanted them to be. And it's really hard to accept not just your own power, but that your life is changing, and you need to make important changes if you're going to continue to lead an actualized, happy, healthy life.
So I was just curious, like what got you over the hump? Because anytime, all right, you're living in San Francisco, life is pretty good. You've got a good job. You've been there. It's the apex of your career, right? It's like there's so many good things. And if you were to just say, I'm going to keep working there and keep working, I'm going to stay there, I'm going to live there, everybody would say, of course, that makes total sense. For you to
Yeah.
make a change like that and to say, I'm going to leave San Francisco and then move to Charlotte, some people are going to look at that and be like, why in the world did you do that? Why did you leave San Francisco? Because staying would have been such an easy decision, but there was something in you that said, no, it's time. And I'm just
Well,
wondering what connected you with that
I
in that
mean,
to spur the
I
decision.
I just realized that just I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be, and without getting too much into the details, my uh, domestic situation wasn't a favorable one. It wasn't the kind of situation I wanted to be in. But what really flipped the switch is I was listening to a Kanye West song, and he was describing himself in very unfavorable terms, and I realized, oh my God, that is my partner, and that is the kind of person I'm going to be if I don't make a big change.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds crazy. Kanye West was one of the major factors, or one of the final factors in me making this decision. But I wasn't thriving at work. It was turning into the type of environment that I know that was no longer working for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't a bad environment, it just wasn't working for me anymore. I was It's so expensive in the Bay Area, and I was just tired of grinding and grinding and grinding, and it's like there must be some other way.
Yeah. I
So,
I think that there's something really useful in that, because what you're talking about is like there's a lot of reasons, right? And you can come up with the reasons for why you would stay or why you wouldn't stay.
yeah.
And that's I think all of us can do that. And yet there was kind of the deeper part was just this deeper realization of like there's some part of this that's not the right path for me, and I'm going to make a change.
Yeah, and the other thing, and this isn't something that I shared at the time, but I'm only starting to share it now. I was looking at the end of my life, and
Mm.
I was like, I only have a couple of years left. How do I want those years to be?
Yeah.
And you're faced with something like that, and you realize you need to make a difference. You need to make a change, and you need to put yourself first. Not
Yeah.
only, but I put myself first, which actually ties into another decision that I had made very, very early on, which was the decision to not have a family.
Mm.
And this is a very super personal decision. Everyone has different points of view on this. And it's something that you have to be very true to yourself. And whatever works for you may not work for somebody else, and that's okay. But I do recognize it's a very personal decision. Having made that decision so early on, I was able to set myself up to be super, super flexible, and I could do whatever I wanted, go wherever I wanted, even though it took me a little bit of time to realize, oh wait, I can do whatever I want. I can flip the table of my life over and start over. So not having those attachments certainly helped. It was a decision I was able to make alone. I didn't have to think about children in school, having
Yeah.
a family, didn't have to, share the decision with the spouse. And so that definitely helped ease the ability to make that decision. And
Yeah.
the life I live is all my own, for better or worse. And there are certainly costs that come along with that, but I'm grateful for the flexibility that it gave me. I'd also, one of the first jobs I had in when I moved to San Francisco was for a little startup called E-Trade, and that was a total game changer for me. It not only got me into tech, got me into finance, and it was my first real design job. I learned as much as I could about the business of investing, about financial education, and I took that to heart. And I put that into practice, the stuff that I learned at E-Trade. There was a point where I said my job as a designer or as a design leader is sort of beside the point. My primary day-to-day job is investing, and that too allowed me to have flexibility. The reason why by the way, the reason I decided to spend my entire career in financial services and not go to any of the wonderful technology companies that were springing up and existed in Silicon Valley by where I lived is because of how what I learned at E-Trade changed my life. Having an empowered and an informed relationship with money is something that is very important. Not necessarily to be wealthy, but to have choice and to have freedom and to be able to live the life that you want, whether it's a modest life, kind of like what I'm living now, or much more exciting and extravagant, which a lot of my friends and colleagues have been blessed with. But being able to feel like I have control in helping other and using human-centered experience principles in design to help ease other people's relationship with money is really, something I thought would be important as long as as long as I had a career that is what I wanted to use my
Yeah.
skills for.
I think that connection to money is so important, and because so many people, especially here in the Bay Area, are focused on financial independence. They say, "Well, I want to achieve financial independence," and if they have a family, that's a bigger number because they're thinking
Mhm.
about their kids and all of that. But they say, "I want to reach financial independence, and then I can do what I want to do."
Yeah.
And I think that there's something in there that you're, this question of like, what is financial independence? What does that really mean? You think there's a theme there. There's a theme there with the fact that we're all going to die, right? Like that's reality. We're all going to die at some
Yeah.
point. Most of us don't like to think about it, but bringing that into focus does help to clarify this question of what are you doing today? What are you
Yeah.
doing in this season of your life? And do you feel good about it? And so there's that, it connects that because, we're working towards this end goal, and yet today matters, the end goal of financial independence, but today matters. And then there's this other question of like, what we really want, most of us, is not freedom in like, I can buy whatever I want to buy. Like, well, it's like to some extent, most of us don't like, we have most of what we need. Most of us, the thing is like, I want to be able to do and spend my time on what matters most to me. And these things
Yes.
all seem to be connected.
It's having the choice to live the life that you want. And I was at the time this was hard, but looking back, I feel very grateful that I had gone through certain challenges and had certain struggles of growing up with very little money, and being able to take those principles and those practices as I made a lot of money, and now I'm in this phase of life where I'm working hardly at all. um I always wanted to live a simple life, And in most cases, I have. It's like the way I'm so frugal with money even now, like like no matter what. But making those decisions along the way enabled me today to live the life that I wanted. One of the big decisions that seemed really small at the time, am I going to buy a Lotus Elise, which I really wanted at one point, or am I going to buy a home in San Francisco? And I decided to do the latter. The Lotus Elise probably wouldn't be worth very much today, but the home that I bought was able to, it was a worthwhile investment, and I was able to reinvest that in other things. And just deciding I'm not going to buy anything new. I'm not going to take a trip. I'm not going to buy anything nice for myself until all my homes are paid off. Again, that is a very challenging thing to do anywhere, particularly San Francisco.
Mhm.
But just making these small decisions had very big um, big consequences later that I didn't even realize how big those were. And even for people who are deciding, who still have, student loans to pay off, double mortgage to pay off. These small decisions that you make to reinvest in yourself, whatever that looks like, those are going to pay off. And to
Yeah.
just be very thoughtful about even the smallest choices that you make.
I'd like to ask one more question, and we'll move towards wrapping up. But and it's coming back to this, so many decisions. I think there's two ways to think about it. One way is the analytic approach, and I love the criteria, and Top Golf kind of stood out. I think if we had more time, I'd love to dig into that. But
Yeah.
um, to go through, here are the things that are important to me. Here are the criteria. How do I weight them? How do I evaluate them? It's really much more of an analytical decision-making process. But
Yeah.
then there's that sense of, what do I believe is right? What do I believe is right for me and my life? Whether to have a family or not, whether I want to continue living in this city and continue on this path, or changing direction. And those decisions are not necessarily analytical. And I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on balancing these two
Yeah.
ways of making a decision.
I I mean, you're right that it's not all analytical, it's not all data. There is some emotion and heart in there. I do think that it comes down to, what are your principles, what are your values, and sticking to them incessantly. And also owning your decisions.
Hmm.
Sometimes there are many times where the right decision isn't clear and there's no right decision to make. In those cases, it's about, you make a decision and then you do what it takes to make it the right one. Very rarely is there one single right decision. But sometimes you just have to do your best and just inform your choices with what is really most fundamentally important to you, and let that be your guide.
Yeah.
But also own your decisions. Whatever choice you make that works for you and the people that you care about, own it, be proud of it, and do not let anybody talk you out of it. Because what's right for you is not right for me, and what's right for me isn't right for somebody else. And to be respectful of other people's choices, and to be respectful and own the choices you have to make for yourself.
Yeah. Fantastic. Jennifer, thank you so much. Thanks for this conversation. Thank you for sharing so openly about your own journey and some of the bold decisions that you made that are right for you. So I really appreciate you just joining in this conversation and talking about it.
Thank you so much, Rusty, for having me. I really appreciate the